Hey, what's going on, guys? So we're going to be looking at the numbers today, and I strongly advise this community to be able to do this yourself. Figure out how to do these equations. They're not hard, and you'll be able to get ideas of what could be, and it's better to have all possibilities in your head instead of only one or two. So, or as many possibilities as possible. So to get 500,000 control right now, BNB, we're at about a 550, so it's going to be around $300, maybe around $250 to get the 500,000 control tokens. As BNB moves up with the sale, if we go up to 1,000, it'll cost $500 to get 500,000 control. I don't know how much we're going to grow. I think it's slowed down quite a bit once people realized if other people get in, then that's more tokens they have to share. Also, it's super important that you guys understand that it's not when other people get in that it takes value away from you. You get less tokens, but the price of those tokens equally increases. So the value is the same. It's just the amount of tokens is different because more people are entering the pool. They're getting a share of those tokens by paying into those tokens, which increases the value of everybody's tokens, but equally decreases the amount they get. No one's getting in later for the same dollar amount and getting more or less than you. Everybody's getting the equal amount based on the dollar amount they put in. It's just the more people that get in, the more it decreases the amount that's being shared amongst everybody because there's only so much to go around in the presale. It's also important to think about other people. What about the people who continue to get in control token that we talk about? What's best for them? Let's actually create a community that thinks about the other people and is trying to benefit them as well, instead of just, what do I get out of this? How do I get the most money? And how do I make the most? Let's not do that. You know what I mean? I get it. Trust me, I get it. I'm the same way. But let's try to think about other people. This is the math for 500,000 control token. If 400 million, okay, there's a slight typo there, 400 million of the supply is staked. That's a good amount. It could be more, it could be less. If there's less staked, these rewards increase. If there's more staked, they'll decrease. That's why it's good for you to know this equation. You divide the amount of tokens you have by the amount staked, and you can go over 100 million staked, 200 million staked, 400 million staked, 700 million staked, so that you can get an idea of how much it affects those rewards. I just went with 400 million for this one. For the last one, I did 224 or something, but for this one, I'm gonna do 400 million control staked. So the numbers for that, if you have 500,000 control token, and this is just the total of what your rewards are for the entire year, it's your 6-month, your monthly, and your 12-month all combined. For 500,000 control tokens, which currently's price is about $200 to $300, unless that goes up, if we hit only 1 million in monthly volume of you hitting that $2,200, this isn't including the whale pool, this isn't including the unstaking fees. This is not including that. So this is actually bigger than that because this amount would include all of the unstaking fees. The only way that you'd be able to be in the whale pool is whatever the amount of 2BNB comes out to when the pre-sale ends is what the whale pool is going to be. 500,000 control is probably not enough to be in that, but if the pre-sale grows a lot, then that number could get down to 1 million control token, and then 1 million control token. As long as you got 2BNB in the pre-sale, you'll be able to get in the whale pool. I've decided that we must do that. We must honor that. So yeah, with 500,000 control token, if we hit 10 million in volume a month, which comes out to 120 million over the course of a year, then you'd make 22 grand and you'd be able to sell your bag, and we're not including the unstaking fees. If we have 100 million in volume a month, which that's a very extremely successful, that's us doing about what we think this is possible of. That's insane volume, especially to maintain over the course of 12 months is that hasn't happened before. So with a tax reward project like this, so we'd probably be one of the first to do that, but because we're shifting so much value into the future, it's a possibility. I think it'd be wrong to say that it's not possible. Could do more than what I expect. I don't know what to expect of this project, but anyways, that would put you at 220 grand if we hit 100 million in monthly volume with less than $300 investment. It's important to remember how much you're putting in and how much you're getting out, and then compare this to rest of DeFi, compare it to the rest of reward tokens. And then it's important to mess with these numbers so that you can get a clear picture. Okay, well, what if 500 million is staked? What if 700 million is staked? What number does that give me? So yeah, you divide your bag by the total amount staked. You can change these numbers, and then you'll get like 0.012. And then you multiply that times any of the monthly, 6-month, and 12-month volumes, and you'll get the amount of rewards you'll get out of that. So important to remember that. So we go back to the pre-sale contribution for 1 million tokens, right? There's 1 million. This number is going to be pretty good. So right now it's about $500. It's about a BNB to get 1 million tokens. If the raise goes up to 1,000, it'll cost $1,000 in BNB, which is a little less than 2. To get that 1 million tokens. As the raise increases, the amount of tokens you get decreases, but the price of it equally increases. So the value stays the same. Important to remember that, guys. So if we go to the 1 million control tokens, so this is 1 million divided by 400 million staked, forget that zero. That's going to give you a number. It's 0.002 or something like that. You multiply that times your volume. You can come up with any amount of volume. You can do 15 million, 30 million. It's good that you guys know how to do this. Create a community of people who understand this and aren't just leaning on somebody. And we can check each other and go over it, and then we'll create a much more realistic thinking community. That's what we need. If you have 1 million control, which right now is about $500, $600, and we get 1 million in volume a month, the total rewards for that year, for everything combined, this isn't including the unstaking fees though, would be $4,400 for only 1 million in volume a month, for only $500 to $600. That's guaranteed return. If we hit 12 million in volume, even in the first month, you'll know with 1 million control, as long as the 400 million staked doesn't go over 400 million, that you're getting at least $4,400 at the end of the year. No project has had it to where you have this guaranteed value that you're getting no matter what, and you can sell your bag. And you'll know that as others leave, that value can only go up. So if we hit 12 million in the first month, you'd know from there on out that you've got this much guaranteed no matter what. Everybody will know I've got this much guaranteed, and they'll be able to, if they want to, put in 800, 900 million control just to see what would be worst case scenario. But in order for that to happen, it's probably not going to happen. For that amount of the supply to be bought up, to be staked, for you to get less reward, it becomes unlikely, because it gets harder and harder and harder to buy those tokens as we launch, because they become more and more and more expensive the more people try to get that supply. A lot of cool things to think about when it comes to something like that. 1 million control tokens staked with 10 million in monthly volume will put you at 44 grand a year, but 44,000 for only 10 million in volume, which means, like I just said, if we hit 120 million in volume within the first 3-4 months, you know I've got about 44 grand guaranteed at the end of the year, and all the volume between now and then to increase that. If we were able to hit 120 million volume within the span of 3 or 4 months, you'd be like, okay, I've got 40 grand waiting for me at the end of the year. Plus, I have the ability to sell after I get that without the unstaking fee, whatever the price is at that point. I don't know what it'll be. Obviously, 100 million in volume a month, and I know it's aiming for the stars, but we've seen other projects do it that aren't shifting value into the future with nearly as much attacks as what we have, and not preserving that value, and not an appreciating stablecoin. So we have a lot of advantages. If other projects have done this that are doing kind of the opposite what we're doing, feeding the whales, if you reward in the token immediately, you're feeding all of the whales immediately and incentivizing them to get out. And by not feeding the whales, by delaying it, we're pulling away from them and shifting a lot of value into the future in a stablecoin. So I don't think that this is stupidly unrealistic to talk about 100 million. Other projects have done it that don't incentivize the growth of the project. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. That is us succeeding, especially to maintain that kind of volume over the course of 12 months. That might sound crazy, but I think that it's not impossible once you understand how control token works. That would be 440 grand. For 1 million control, which, like I said, is $500 right now. You have to think about this. $500 with a guaranteed value, plus you can sell your bag, plus you've got all the unstaking fees that are going to fuel this as well. Plus, if you're in the whale pool, you get the extra 1% that you share with only the other whales that are staking in that pool. $500, $600 to make 440 grand. I think that's pretty good, and be able to sell your bag. Nothing like this has ever been done. Now, there are a lot of projects that do $1 billion in volume, but those are like the top projects within DeFi. Maybe we could be. I don't know, But for fun, if we ever hit $1 billion in volume a month for a year, for only 1 million control token, you'd make $4,400,000. That does seem to be unrealistic, but I would still say possible, but unrealistic. Now, let's go back to the 5 million, that number that I set, that's got all you guys set on 5 million. Now, as BNB goes up, right now, 5 million tokens is about $2,700. If we reach 600 BNB in the raise, it'll be 3,000. If we get to 700 BNB, it'll be 3,500. If we get to 1,000 BNB raise, it'll cost 5,000 to have that 5 million. And if the BNB raise completely fills, which I'm pretty sure is not going to happen, but who knows, that 2,000 BNB, then it'll cost 10 grand. So 10 grand in the pool guarantees worst case scenario, which is kind of best case scenario for the project. The more we raise, the more rewards we get, the more diversified that value is, and the more we have in the treasury for marketing, dev work, utilities, and to pay the team. But anyways, here's a chart for you guys to look at. How much do you want? Use this math. It's simple math. Figure out what you think the BNB is going to end on, and then you can know about what you want to get for what value, obviously based off of what your capabilities are. Never put in more than you're willing to lose. I can't guarantee the success of this project. This is a risk. It's me putting my best effort in with you guys. Back to the 5 million control token. These are the fun numbers, but what I've done is I've increased this to 400 million staked. It could be less. It could be 300 million staked. It could be that 200 million staked, but I've increased it to the 400 million control staked for what could potentially be a more realistic number, but you need to be able to do this math yourself. 5 million control token divided by about 200 million, 400 million, 600 million, 800 million. Go through these numbers. It's going to give you 0.002 or 0.01, and you have to multiply that number times the volume to get an idea of what the rewards will be. And there's many different ways to approach all of this. So the 5 million in control token for $1 million in monthly volume, or if we just hit 12 million in volume, you've got 22 grand. Right now, that 5 million cost about 2,700. If we hit 600 BNB, it'll cost 3 grand. But if we only hit 12 million in volume at any point, either through the course of a year or in the first month, if we hit 12 million in volume, for that, if you're able to get that 5 million control, knowing that the BNB raise is going to increase the amount of value you need to get that control, keep that in mind, you'll have 22 grand guaranteed sitting at the end of the year. If we hit 12 million in the first month, you'll say, I've got 22 grand based on that 400 million control staked. And that could go down or up. That's not including the unstaking fees. And this is the whale pool. So this is including the extra whale pool. The whale pool gets a lot more incentives because it gets 10% of all the unstaking fees go to the whale pool to only be shared amongst the whales who are staking that amount. And 20% of everything, all the unstaking fees that come from the whale pool, go towards just the whale pool to be shared among them. 20% of all the unstaking fees for the regular pools goes towards the regular 12-month rewards for everybody, which includes the whales as well, and 10% of the whale fee that gets unstaked goes towards the value for everybody as well. So there's a lot of value that I'm not considering here. The 1% of the whale pool is that as well. That kind of 10 million in volume for an entire year, you'd have 220 grand for around a $3,000 investment at this point. Now that could cost more as the value of the raise goes up, but right about now we're at $2,700, I believe, for 5 million control. Now, if we hit only 10 million in volume over the course of a year, or if we hit 120 million volume within the course of 2 months, 3 months, you'll know with 5 control, and I'm not trying to say this to persuade everybody needs to do this. It's going to get expensive as people chase this amount. It makes it harder to get. If you have this kind of money, if you want to guarantee that you got that 5 million, worst case scenario, if you have 10 grand worth of BNB in the sale, you're going to get 5 million if the raise completely fills. If the raise only goes to 1,000, then you need at least 5 grand to guarantee that you get that 5 million. And if the raise goes to 800, 900, you've got this chart here to look at what do I think it's going to end and how much is that going to get me? And don't see this as a negative. Don't only look at this as yourself. The only way this project succeeds is we think about the future. We have to care about people that are getting in later, and we have to care about the value for them as well, which is why we need very high volume in order to benefit the people that are going to be getting in at higher price points. If 400 million, so almost half the supply is staked, with 5 million control, for 10 million, you'd be getting that 220,000. If we hit 100 million in volume for a year, which that's a massive success, that's more successful than SafeMint or Evergrow on a big scale, that'll be $2,200,000 in rewards that can't go down unless more tokens are staked, and that increases the value of the rewards as well. So, and it increases the price because people have to buy the token to stake token, and that's helping the project grow, which incentivizes more volume. So just keep that in mind. 5 million control token, which only costs about around 3 grand right now. If we did that and then we hit 12 million in volume, at any point within the first month or first 2 months, if we hit 12 million in volume, you'd know you had around 22 grand at the end of the year with only 400 million of the supply staked. If there's only 200 million in supply staked, then that would go up a lot. That would go up to 44 grand. That's guaranteed based off of a very small amount of volume if we hit that volume. If we hit 120 million in volume within the first 3 or 4 months, then you'll know you've got 200 grand based off of a $3,000 investment plus the ability to sell your bag I don't know if people realize how insane it is that the fact that every other project, there is nothing like this. That's not, oh, you have this guaranteed value in the future that can only go up with buys and sells, and you have the ability to sell your bag. And if people leave, they feel those rewards and forfeit their rewards. And you know what I mean? That's crazy, especially to think about the amount you're putting in. People want to put in $100 and make millions of dollars. People want to put in a couple thousand and make millions of dollars. I get it. The more you're willing to put in, the more you can expect. But we can't be hoping to put in $50, $100, and make tens of millions of dollars. That's unrealistic. The point is this: if you compare this project to the rest of DeFi and to even other reward projects, nothing compares to Control Token. For many different reasons, psychologically, mathematically, and the reward system, nothing compares to Control Token from what I've seen when it comes to the value that's being preserved for you and shifted into the future for you that can only go up with buys and sells. And so, yeah, if we hit 100 million in volume over the course of a year on a monthly basis, or 1.2 billion in volume, which is a lot, that's not a small amount, for the investment of right now at the price of around $3,000 to get 5 million Control Token, unless that goes up as the pre-sale increases, that amount will go down, but the price of it or the value of it will equally increase so that you're getting the same value but a different amount of tokens. If you're dropping more, if you've got 10 million Control, you can double all these numbers to 44, 200, or 440, 4.4 million. So hopefully this helps give you guys a clear picture of the pre-sale, of you getting an idea of what the value you're putting in and how that can change as the raise grows, and then you can decide what amount you want to get, and you can kind of get an idea of what these numbers look like based on a million in volume. You can multiply this times 5 to get it. What would it be for 5 million or 10 million? What if you're curious about 20 million? Multiply these numbers by 2. If we get 20 million in volume for every month, then this number would be $88,000 for around a $3,000 investment plus the ability to sell your bag. Something like that hasn't been done before, to have preserved value for people in the future and the ability to sell your bag. That hasn't been done. That's crazy. And I think that you can lose how special that is if you start to think, well, I want it to be I want to make millions, and I want it to be, and it's like, well, that can be if we get that volume up. If we get that volume up, yeah, it will be that for even these small bags. I know some of you guys might just not want the pre-sale to go up because you want the same amount of tokens. That's fine. I won't do like crazy push and marketing. I'm going to do a little bit more marketing for the week. I'm going to go to Bitcoin Nashville over the weekend and probably talk to some people out there and try to connect with people to tell them about Control Token out in Nashville. And then when I get back, we'll be ending the pre-sale, and then hopefully we'll have a launch date very soon after that so that we can get this thing going and work as a community to make this project successful. You guys have a great day. Make sure to like this video, comment down below what kind of tokens you want, what kind of volume you think is realistic. Let's have a conversation about this. Let's be realistic but optimistic as well. Have a great day, guys.